versus who is better.
They don't let me out. They don't call my name. They done read the 4 chapters. Now I'm back. I've been born again. Master, hit the switch. Igor, he's alive! He's alive!
Hi, I'm Dave Berry,
Hi, I'm Lisa Snowden.
and you are watching Football Stats Online.
What kind of show?
Yes, welcome back. Or as the Dutch say, welcome to it. Or at least that's how Google Translate says it. Yes, welcome back to another episode of Versus, courtesy of Football Stats Online. The episode or the show that gives you 2 comparison players or 2 similar players and puts them head to head. And today, as you've seen, we have Ruud van Nistelrooy, Man United legend. Well, can you call him a legend? We'll get back to that. But yes, Ruud van Nistelrooy, prolific goal scorer. Yes, you can call him. Versus Jamie freaking great Vardy. Jamie Vardy is having a fantastic season to begin, scoring 9 goals in 9 games. And this is what we're talking about. Is Van Nistelrooy better than Vardy? I'm afraid yes, he is. Sorry, Leicester fans. He's just done it all. He's won everything in terms of Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, you name it. He's won it. However, this episode will be showing, is he better with regards to the consecutive goals? He scored in 10 consecutive games. Vardy has 1 more to equal that record. So on this episode, we're going to see exactly how those 2 compare with regards to how fast do they do it, what teams did they do it against, and how many goals did they score to do it. Speaking of goals, Ruud van Nistelrooy scored 249 club goals in 449 appearances, which is incredible. Equally incredible, Vardy has so far scored 163 goals in 293 appearances. If you work that out, that's 0.55 goals per game. That is incredible. Both of them getting 0.55. So does that mean they're the same player? But as I said before, Van Nistelrooy has done it on a higher level. But that does not discredit Vardy, who is performing exceptionally well. And at the end of the day, you know, for you critics out there, a goal is a goal, you know, whether it's park or on a Premier League ground, a goal is a goal, and the feeling is all the same. Jubilation. But yep, this makes it much more of a better contest in terms of both having a great GPG, you know, goals per game, you know, get those acronyms in there, yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna test this out and see who wins. So let's get to it. Yes, speed. Something Van Nistelrooy was not known for, but Vardy is. But no, this is speed of the record. So far, Vardy has scored 9 goals already, which in itself is a record. Van Nistelrooy scored 8 goals in one season, before then continuing that on in 03-04, where he scored another 2, with his last goal being against Newcastle, getting him, of course, the 10 goals in consecutive matches. But as I said already, Vardy has already set his own record, scoring in 9 consecutive games so far, and he could possibly do that against Newcastle, coincidentally, this weekend with a 10 or even more. So with regards to speed, Vardy was quicker because he's done it over 4 months, whereas Van Nistelrooy did it over 6 months. However, Vardy is on a roll, clearly. Momentum is high for Vardy right now. You know, he's on fire. Whereas Van Nistelrooy had to stop that streak, wait for, 1 or 2 months before then coming back to the Premier League and then scoring again to obviously continue his consecutive goals. So, for me personally, yes, Vardy's 9 goals are an amazing achievement. It is a record. However, he keeps going on. He hasn't had a stop, so therefore there's no break in his momentum. Whereas Van Nistelrooy, you never know if he didn't have that break. He could have gone on and, maybe done 10 or more. But you can argue, Vardy has done it earlier in the season, and, that's not his fault that he's not, doing it at the same time Van Nistelrooy is. So it's a pretty tricky one. Also, the fact of the matter is, when we're talking about speed, Van Nistelrooy achieved the record when he was 26 and 27 years old. Because it spanned over 2 seasons. He just turned 27 before scoring the last 2 goals to make the 10. So he did it when he was 26, 27, whereas Vardy's done it when he was 28. But does that really matter? Not so much. So it's really close, really, really close. Vardy's got the record of 9 Vardy's got a record of 9 consecutive goals in one season. However, Van Nistelrooy had to stop his momentum, had to break that, come back and score again. So, I'm going to class this as a draw. Now, when looking at Van Nistelrooy's record and possibly Vardy overtaking that record, it's good to see exactly what teams these guys have scored against. Just to, make sure there's no derbies. Sorry, derby. But yeah, just to make sure there's no derbies of the bunch, with regards to the teams conceding a lot of goals. So when we start with Van Nistelrooy's record started with Fulham and ended with Newcastle. With regards to the teams, or the top class teams you would say, he scored against Arsenal, Liverpool and Tottenham. Including the teams I just mentioned, collectively, defensively, all of them conceded 487 goals. With Liverpool conceding the least that season, 2002-2003, with 41, which, when you add the 2 goals from the other season to make 10 and making it 40 games, so 487 with 40 games gives you a goal conceded per game figure of 12.17. That means on average 12 goals, we might as well just round it down to 12 goals were conceded, 12 goals were conceded on average each game with regards to these teams. On the other hand, Vardy hasn't really scored against that many top class teams. He scored against Arsenal, which was still ended up in defeat 5-2. But you can't really look at that list and say he scored against, the likes of the Liverpools, the Tottenhams. So you can argue Van Nistelrooy has scored against more top class teams. So far this season, we've played 12 games, and collectively, these teams have let in 142 goals, which means a GCPG of 11.8. So it's lower than the 12 goals conceded, or 12.17 goals conceded, when Van Nistelrooy was scoring against those teams, but it's very, very, very close. Van Nistelrooy, as I stated, scored against better teams, and you could also argue that in that era there were better strikers. If you look at the top 5 goal scorers in 2002-2003, it was the likes of Van Nistelrooy, of course, Henry, Viduka, debatable, maybe not, BT and Owen. Whereas now, top 5 goal scorers are of course your Vardys, Mahrez, Igalo, Lukaku and Aguero. Now you can argue that other than Aguero, all those other players have yet to establish themselves as truly world-class strikers. So, who does this round go to? Well, the stats are really, really close. You could round them both actually up to 12 each. But we're all about the stats. So, since Vardy's teams that he scored against are classed as better defensively, getting a lower conceding ratio of 11.8, I'm going to give round 2 to Vardy. Yes, goals, or as the Dutch say, dil. Well, that's what Google Translate tells me. Yes, if Vardy does break the record, we need to see just how many goals both strikers scored. You know, we're trying to make a decision. If he does break the record, who did it better, you know? So, with that all being said and done, Van Nistelrooy scored 15 goals in those 10 games. 15 goals. That is a goal per game ratio of 1.5 goals per game. On the other hand, Vardy so far has scored 10 goals in 9 games, which works out to be 1.1 goals per game. So, yeah, Van Nistelrooy scored more goals. Clearly he's the better player, you know? He's got more goals, so... But let's just examine that a bit more. Yes, he's got the higher goal per games, but to give him even extra clout, Van Nistelrooy scored 2 hat-tricks in the 02-03 season, and he scored 3 pens, which also Vardy has also scored 3 pens. So you can't say he's got more goals because of pens. They've both scored 3 penalties, you know, and Van Nistelrooy scored 2 hat-tricks. 2 hat-tricks. So round 3 goes to Ruud van Nistelrooy. It's decision time. Who wins? I have to say this was a lot harder than I expected. Honestly, I thought this was just a joke, you know, Van Nistelrooy walk it. But when we delved into the stats, it was clear to see that this was a fight where Vardy was not gonna let go or go down so easily. Yes, it was a great fight. I thought that Van Nistelrooy would wipe the slate clean with Vardy, no offense, but just in regards to the clout of player, but Vardy held his own. So who's better? Well, with 1 draw and each guy's winning 1 round, it's very difficult to say. But as you know, on these versus episodes, I have to make a decision. I just have to. So I have to make a decision. And, you know, putting everything, you know, in perspective, taking all the stats in, you know, Vardy has got the 9 goals. He's got the 9 goals. He's already set his own record, you know. You can argue, and no offense, Leicester's fans, but you can argue he's doing a less better team. You know, Van Nistelrooy had Beckham and Scholes. Although, you know, Leicester, you have Mahrez, who's a quality player, but, you know, Man United had golden generation at the time playing. And, you know, he could argue Van Nistelrooy had the better team. But then you can also argue that, you know, Van Nistelrooy could have scored way more than 10 if he didn't have that break, that summer break. He could have kept that momentum going. The teams Vardy scored against have a lower CPG, goals conceded per game. You know, but it's so tight, you know, so tight on that one. And then after it comes down to also to, you know, goals. You know, Van Nistelrooy scored 15 and 10. Whereas Vardy scored 10 and 9. And he could also obviously extend that against Newcastle this weekend. Oh, this is tough. This is tough. I'm going to have to give it to Van Nistelrooy. I'm sorry, but, you know, 2 hat-tricks, you know, had 2 man of the matches. You know, hat-tricks are very difficult to score. More goals he scored as well. Vardy's done incredibly well. And, you know, if he does break that record this weekend, you know, and he scores more goals, you never know. He could score 5. But, you know, Vardy's done incredibly well. But I just think Van Nistelrooy just has to go to him, you know, true poacher. He's got the 2 hat-tricks, you know. He again, to take 2 months off and still come back and continue that record to get to 10 is an achievement in itself. Yes, Vardy has done his own record at 9 in 1 season, but for me personally, I just have to give it to Van Nistelrooy because he lost that momentum but still kept it going by coming back. But like I said, it's it's very difficult, but I have to make a decision. So I'm going for Ruud van Nistelrooy. I know you've got comments. Please leave them below. Please do. And don't forget to subscribe on that little red button down there. Please hit that red button. Subscribe for more verses. You know, I'm going to give you more stats and comparisons. So please do subscribe for more verses and as well as more Football Stats Online. And again, leave your comments. You might think Vardy was better. You might think Nistelrooy is better. You know, very close. But leave your comments. And peace to you.